The Arizona Diamondbacks have lost 5 in a row, 8 of 9, and were just beat in Detroit 24-5. Yet, Torey Lovello says he doesn't want to yell at his players. Should he? We're going to answer that question right now.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Ballantyne, host of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, your team every day. So, the Diamondbacks are my religion, or excuse me, baseball is my religion. I'll get this quote right. Baseball's my religion. The Diamondbacks are my denomination, and you are my congregation. I've got another weekly podcast that I do every Tuesday night with myself and a guy named Cheese. It is called The Sports Truth, SPORTZ, Truth. Like I said, we do that live every Tuesday. You can catch us on X at the 643 and Out Pod, or you can go over to YouTube, same address, the 643 and Out Pod. So by listening now, you are a certified member of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is completely free on all platforms. You can also be part of the show by joining us on YouTube by simply searching Locked On Diamondbacks. Once again, everything is free, and I welcome your comments and your criticisms. I have a passion for baseball. I have a real passion for our Arizona Diamondbacks. And whether you're a first time or a long time, I thank you for making us your first choice of the day. So on today's show, what do you think of this team after being swept by the Tigers? We'll discuss the final game of the series in the second segment, and then we've got to take a look at some really interesting comments from GM Mike Hazen. But before we do all that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Once again, Gametime app, $20 off your first purchase with Locked On MLB. All right, let's jump into this first segment here. I've heard and I've seen a lot of stuff online, whether, depending on whatever website you guys go to. I've got a few of my favorites as well, and I'm sure all of you do too. A lot of you out there seem to be calling for Torey Lovello's head, like it's his fault that we've got all these people on the injured list. But I have to say, over the last week or so, this team has come like this close to a collapse. But you got to remember, you got no Pavin Smith. You've got Tristan English. You've got no guy behind the plate, Gabriel Moreno. You're doing Del Castillo today. He started back there, and you're doing Herrera. Not even close. Neither of those people are close to the starters. You got Cattell going over. You've got Perdomo making errors. You've got Lourdes Gurriel not being in the lineup yesterday, nor was Suarez. You got Suarez getting hit in the hand. I mean, you've got all these different moving and revolving pieces, and it really does affect this team. Now, I do think that the trade deadline part is an excuse because you're still getting paid. You're still supposed to go out there and win as much as possible. According to FanGraphs, Arizona has a 3.5% chance of making the playoffs. And in today's game, from the fourth inning to the eighth inning, they only got one hit. And Marte today was 0 for 4. And after it's all said and done, after the dust has settled in Detroit and they're on their way to wherever in the world the A's play, right? In Sacramento, they're now 7 games below 500. Honestly, that's inexcusable. 7 games below 500. We had or at least I had a big expectation for this team at the beginning of the season. And again, I understand your number one guy, gone. Your closer, gone. Really, the new closer Shelby Miller has been out for quite some time now. Half your bullpen is decimated. You haven't had Pavin Smith. You didn't have Marte for the first month or so of the season. You've had Gabriel Moreno out for quite some time. This team has dealt with a lot of obstacles, but they're still a talented team. It's going to be really, really interesting to me to see if Torey can turn this team around. He said today that he's tired of yelling, that he wants to be more encouraging to his players. Now, I know this team's got a lot of young players, and I would think encouragement is what some of those young players need. But somebody on this team, somebody, whether it be a player on the field or whether it be maybe Bannister, somebody has to kind of take these kids and shake them a little bit and say, wake up, man. You're paid to do a job. And right now, these Diamondbacks are not doing it whatsoever. I mean, when you get outscored 24-5, come on. You're not doing your job at all in those 3 games. Now, let's also take a step back on this part and realize that those 3 games were against the Detroit Tigers in Detroit. Did you really expect the Diamondbacks to come in there and sweep them? I would say no. But at the same point, I didn't expect them to look lifeless. And that's honestly what they look like right now. They just simply look lifeless. The second segment, we're going to actually dissect the second game and figure out where the Diamondbacks are at, what caused them to lose this game so much, because there's a few really big turning points in this game, and we'll go over it inning by inning by inning. That's what we're going to do next, right here on the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. All right, game time. So we've all been there, logging early and you're waiting forever to get your concert tickets online, right? Your fingers are just right there and ready. And then they go on sale. And once they do, you lose your spot on a show that you've been just dying to see. Live music should be more about making memories and not having to deal with stressful ticket shopping. And that's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you can save up to 60% with killer last-minute deals. With Gametime, the thing that I like about it, there are no hidden fees whatsoever. The price you see is the price you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Now, there are terms that apply there, but $20 off your first purchase is nothing to sneeze at whatsoever. So download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on to segment number 2. I've got some notes right here. I watched the game this afternoon. I've got some things that we need to discuss, right? So let's take this kind of an inning at a time, all right? So Perdomo runs into an out. And you basically take the bat out of Gino Suarez's hand. It was awful. Did you see him? He was trying to time up the pitcher, and that's the second time this has happened in 2 games. These kind of things can't happen. If this stuff happens in spring training or if it happens early in the season, okay, I can excuse that, but not where we're at right now in the season. Those kind of things can't happen. Nelson allows 2 men to get on there in the bottom of the inning, but he strands both of them. Nelson really did a great job. We'll go over his stuff here in just a little bit, but he did a really good job today. Gino hits a ball 340 feet to left field, but the problem was the wall was 342 feet. He got a hold of one, just not quite. And their left fielder out there, I believe it was Carpenter, he made a fantastic play getting that thing right before it hit the wall. Nice play by him. And sometimes you just got to give the other team their accolades, right? That's what happened in that particular situation. McKinstry This guy impressed me over this series. He played everywhere, and he has played everywhere except catcher for the Tigers this season. A really great infield, a guy that can play all over the infield and the outfield as far as that part is concerned. So he really impressed me this series. Nelson had 3 Ks in 2 innings. Pretty good, actually. So again, I really thought as this game went along, Nelson was not the problem, at least not early in this game. So Kerry Carpenter hits a triple, gets an RBI out of it, and the Tigers are up 1-0. Then in the next inning, Carroll doubles, and Perez kept it as a double. If you didn't get to see that play, that's probably something that was really overlooked in the game. Perez is really fast. I'm not sure if he's Corbin Carroll fast, but Perez for the Tigers really, really fast. And I'm telling you, if we make some kind of trade with Suarez, I would love to see Perez come over to Arizona. We'll talk about some other points as far as that part goes here in a moment. Marte did have a productive at bat. Now, he went 0 for 4 today, which, again, I mean, I know these guys are going to go 0 for, but when you've got a lineup out there that's got the people in it that we have right now, we need to lean on those big stars. Excuse me. Apologize for that. We need to lean on these big stars. I'm allergic to Ketel Marte. We need to lean on these big stars when we have a lineup that's out there like that, and those guys have to come through for us. Today, Marte did not. He did have this productive at bat, brought Carroll over to third. Perdomo gets a second hit in the game, just kind of a bloop out to right field, and he brings Corbin Carroll in. So all of those things, get him in, get him over, get him on, or get him – I said that completely backwards. Get him on, get him over, and get him in, right? So that's what they did. They got the 1 run out of it. So Perdomo actually stayed back on a changeup really nice. Now, he's going to mess up here later on in the game. We'll go over that in a moment. But that at-bat was a really good at-bat by Jerry. I was really impressed today with the English and Alexander's bats. Their at-bats that were back-to-back. They went to like 8 and 9 pitches apiece. Yes, they didn't do anything as far as the end of the at-bat goes, but you got the starting pitcher's pitch count up. And for 2 young kids, I thought they really battled in both of those at-bats. They were long and impressive at-bats there in the 5th inning. Perdomo, I think, this was the turning point of the game. Perdomo makes the double error and honestly looks just terrible. It's the catcher running. Slow down, buddy. He's usually a pretty good fielder, but I don't know. It looks like there's something going on in his head right now. Let me give you my opinion on it real fast. I really think that he's one of those guys who is a caring guy, and he knows some of his friends are going to be leaving soon. I just don't think he can handle it. He's not been around in the big leagues long enough, and he's really letting it get to him. And you can almost see it in his face on the field, like he's distracted. So I hope this, once the trade deadline's over, Friday we go to Sacramento where the A's play, and we can move on from this and try to get ourselves, at least up to 500 before the end of the season's over. I think that would be a good goal. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's episode. So Perdomo makes that big error. Rogers ends up on second base, and then Colt Keith singles home Rogers. And all of a sudden, by the way, Colt Keith off of Nelson was 6 for 6 in his career. Why didn't Torey Labella just do this? Maybe we should just walk the guy, right? I mean, come on. When you're 6 for 6 off somebody, maybe you should just bow to the hitter and move on with your life, right? So that makes it 2-1 Tigers. Nelson has a 4-seam change at 88. A beautiful pitch in the at-bat. One of the biggest pitches for him in that at-bat. And when he needed to, he stepped up today. I really thought Nelson did a really good job, even though his line, and we'll go over his line here in a moment, that might not say it, but I think if you really watch the actual game, I think you'll see that Nelson pitched a pretty good game. So Carpenter then hits a 2-run home run later on in the game, and we got a 4-1 Tiger lead. Barossa, oh my goodness. I mean, I know we're trying to give the kid a chance, but it's like he's never seen a curveball in his life. Did you see that awful swing he took where he completely lost his balance? I thought he was going to fall, to be very honest with you. Somehow he kept at least a little bit of his balance, and he did not. But I think my daughter could have taken a better swing at a baseball than that. So we got that. Barroso looked just absolutely terrible. Perez now then comes up, gets a double. McKinstry gets a double. Those two are back to back. Now it's 5-1 Tigers. And then a 2-run home run by Rogers brings the total to 7-1 Tigers. Saul Frank comes in, does a pretty good job. He came in later on into the game. Alexander, you really thought that they were, I didn't think they were going to come back, but I thought they were going to make the game respectable. At this point, it's 7-1, and I'm thinking, okay, 7-3, 7-4. At least when people look at the score and the box score and stuff, they're going to be like, okay, well, at least the Diamondbacks put up a fight. And then Alexander hits into a double play, an absolute rally killer in that particular point in the game. And when you thought maybe they might squeak across a couple of runs or so in that inning, it all just goes to snot. So Alexander's double play was another really big turning point. Saul Frank stays in, and he comes in the eighth, and he has a 1-2-3 inning. So again, I liked what Andrew did. He did a pretty good job there in those 2 innings of relief. Perdomo does the same thing in this at-bat that he did in the other at-bat. And if you really take a look at it, I'm thinking that people are going to stop throwing Perdomo changeups. He sat back on a changeup again, but this time he drove it over the right field fence. So that made it 6-2. Gino got a double, and that was his third hard hit of the day. If you didn't go through and see it, I mean, if you're just looking at box scores, it's like, okay, Gino was 1 for 3, no big deal. I'm telling you, Gino, even hurt hand and all, you can't tell me that hand's 100%. He was out there swinging and swinging hard. Man, I'll give it to him. He did a really good job out there today too. He didn't actually get anything for it, with the exception of the double. But I thought Gino played a really good game today, too. So Nelson, 4 runs, 1 earned, no walks. Really important for me. He didn't give any free passes. I love a pitcher that doesn't do that. And 7 Ks. And this was the first game of his season where he has gone over 90 pitches. Now, he only went 92 pitches. It's not like he went to 120 or anything. 92 pitches in 5 1/3, and he ended up getting that last K there, so he got 8 Ks in the game. Once again, the Diamondbacks have lost 5 in a row, 8 of 9. They were outscored 24-5 in this Detroit series, and according to FanGraphs, they've got a 3.5% chance of making the playoffs. 7 games below 500. Take a break. Take a breather, guys. We'll talk about some things that Mike Hazen said in a moment. But I tell you, YouTube is a great tool for you to get everything that you need about the Arizona Diamondbacks. But in order for you to do that, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so that you never miss a video from the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. I'll be doing some shorts and I'll be doing some other things. So subscribe, hit that bell, join the Diamondbacks Nation. I'm always very active on X as well, posts and reposts and some poll questions and things like that. And you can get me on X at LO_Diamondbacks. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to look at some interesting quotes from Mike Hazen. Stick around. I think you're going to want to hear these. All right, now it is time for 5-hour energy. In fact, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-hour energy transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. So, whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one is a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days, whether you're on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and stay energized. You know, my wildest shot ever on the golf course, I got completely frustrated and I basically Happy Gilmore the shot, right? You run all the way back and, man, you just swing that club as hard as you can swing it. Well, the crazy thing was, I had no idea where it was going until my buddy was like, look. It ends up taking 3 hops, hits the flagpole, and just drops. Now, it did not go into the actual hole, but it's the closest I've ever come. and I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. But what I did know what I was doing is right before I took that shot, I also took a shot of 5-hour energy transfusion. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. And the grape, ginger, and lime flavors give you the best part of your clubhouse to go without having to chase down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code, which is Locked On Golf, to receive 20% off of your order. Terms do apply. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and can't be used with any other promotions. The code is also not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, so now we're going to go into this last segment of the day. Thank you for sticking around with me. I certainly appreciate you doing that. When we're all done here, do you want a broader look at the game of baseball? If so, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. They watch every game, so you don't have to. You can get them on YouTube, and you know what? Let's say you're in the car. Let's say you're mowing the grass on the mower, right? Doing some of those daily activities outside that we all love to do. Well, you don't have to watch us. You can listen to us. And we're on pretty much every platform. In fact, it's not pretty much. We are on every platform. Spotify, Apple, and my favorite, XM Satellite Radio. All right, so let's look at some different quotes here from Mike Hazen. These came from an article from MLB.com beat writer Steve Gilbert, right? I didn't go down to the stadium and stick a microphone in his face. I'm here in Arizona. I am not in Detroit, so I wanted to give Steve the credit that he deserves from the article. I just want to bring it from me as a fan to all of our fans out here on Locked On Diamondbacks. Here was the first quote that I thought was pretty interesting from him. When talking about the actual trade deadline and where we're at and all the scenarios and things like that, this is what Steve got Mike to quote. Most of these things don't happen until the deadline, but things are moving along, and something may get done either Wednesday or Thursday. But I think it's the normal spot where we typically are at this point in the process. So he's not alarmed. I think some of us are alarmed. There's some people out there, I'm looking on Twitter and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, we haven't made any of these trades. We haven't traded Suarez. We haven't traded Kelly. We haven't traded Gallup. Just, in the words of Aaron Rodgers, relax. I believe he's holding Eugenio Suarez for ransom pretty much. And I think tomorrow you'll see us get a real big haul for him. As far as the pitchers and things, there's really not been a whole lot of starting pitchers moved. There's been some relievers moved, but there's not been a lot of starters moved. So I think the starting market will really start coming into focus and into shape tomorrow. And again, I do believe you'll see the Diamondbacks move all three of these players, and we'll get some good young prospects in return. Now, as far as the young players and things, I thought this was really interesting because I heard Torey before the game basically say, you know, hey, this trade deadline is under everybody's skin. This trade deadline is getting in our heads, and we're playing really bad baseball. I don't like the excuses and using this as the excuse. And I thought this quote from Mike Hazen, again, from the story from Steve Gilbert, is really spot on. And I want you to listen to what Mike Hazen says about this. And for those of you who are calling for Torey Lovullo's head, maybe you should scratch your own head for a second here and think about what he's saying. And it goes like this. It says, I think from the young players' perspective, they probably know the chance of them getting traded is extremely low. Not zero for anybody, but extremely low. So I don't really even buy that from a distraction standpoint. Interesting. From some of the veteran guys who've been talked about publicly, I understand. it is a little more for them. I just feel like let's get through this deadline and see what happens. But yeah, it's been pretty disappointing to watch where we've been over the last 10 days. Amen. Amen, right? I mean, where they've been at these last 10 days has been kind of brutal. It's really hard to watch this team right now. I think it also shows you how bad the Cardinals are when they got them. And everybody was like, oh, they're a playoff team. We swept the Cardinals. They're not as good as what everybody thinks they are. In fact, they just traded their closer. So let's put things in perspective here. Let's put things into reality. And the last thing I want to look at here as we talk about everything else tomorrow, we'll preview the A's series tomorrow on this very site, this very channel right here, Locked On Diamondbacks. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the different platforms. We are there. I want to look at this quote, and this is not a quote from Mike Hazen. This is actually a quote from Wednesday's starter, Ryan Nelson. He said, "It's definitely not the spot that we wanted to be when we showed up to Scottsdale in the spring." I agree. I'm sure most of you do too. I think this is a really good group of guys. The guys really enjoy playing together and fighting for each other. There's not been much fight here lately, though, but it's been tough. It's been tough with all the noise and a lot of people with opinions and things that they've said about us. I think this weighs pretty heavy on everyone. And here's what I want. I want you to be able to turn that negative stuff that everybody's saying to you into like a revenge tour. Let's come back home. Let's kick the Oakland A's in the tail and then come back home and start beating up on the Padres and the Rockies and the Reds. Those are the people that are coming into town soon. Let's turn this negativity and everybody wanting Torey out into a positive thing, because I believe if they don't, then everybody's going to get their wish. I'm not sure if Torey Lovullo is going to be around much longer. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast your first listen every day. I am Mike Valentine. I certainly appreciate it, and thank you guys very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow right here. And remember, be tuned in so you can stay locked on.